As we do the summary of Hilchos Rosh Hashana, some of it's repetitive, some of the things that we covered in Shulchan Aruch over the last few weeks, but a review is always good. And this will be two parts from Rosh Hashana, then we'll go on to Aseres Yemei Tshuva. It begins with Erev Rosh Hashana, the concept of Slichas. Erev Rosh Hashana, we say more Slichas than usual. At the end of Slichas, we say Tachnon, even if it's after Aleis HaShachar. During this Slichas, even those that one that's on the Oval that can't come to Shul, he's allowed to come for Erev Rosh Hashana for that Slichas. General Slichas starts the Sunday before Rosh Hashana, especially when you have at least 4 days that you could say Slichas. And this year we start next Mitzvah Shabbos, near midnight, near Chatzais, which is our minig. That's when we start the series of Slichas. But back to Erev Rosh Hashana, we don't say Tachnon by Shachris, we don't say Achyancha, we don't say Tfilah David, etc. But in Slichas, we will still say Tachnon. Although a whole Chedesh Elul, every weekday, we are blowing shofar, on Erev Rosh Hashana itself, we don't blow shofar. There are various reasons for it. Among them, it is to differentiate between blowing shofar, which is a rishus, which is optional. It's a minhag, which is the month of Elul, and blowing shofar on Rosh Hashana itself, which obviously is a mitzvah. In addition, it also confuses the Satan. We do several things throughout Rosh Hashana to throw him off track. The Rebbe explains that it's not just throwing him off track. He's obviously a malach, but it's showing our love for the mitzvah, which is expressed in various things that we do in regards to confusing the Satan. But we take a break, and Erev Rosh Hashana itself, we don't blow shofar. If someone needs to learn how to blow shofar or practice, especially this year, many people are learning how to blow shofar, you could do it on Erev Rosh Hashana in a room that's closed. Close the door, and you could practice, even though it's Erev Rosh Hashana. Ataras Nedarim. After Shachris, the minig is to do Ataras Nedarim. Our custom is to do it with a group of 10. Others do it with a group of 3. And we use the Nusach, the text, the version that is printed in the Siddur of what is said. There are those that have a minig to fast at Erev Rosh Hashana till after Mincha, and those that do that should make sure to break their fast after Mincha, in order that they shouldn't go into the Rosh Hashanah until Yantif while they're fasting. And people that have done it for a long time, it's considered to be like a neder for them, unless it's a simcha, so this mitzvah that's happening that day, they could break their fast without doing any type of a Torah for this concept of fasting. There's a minig at Rosh Hashanah after Shachar to go to the Beis HaKvares to daven by Kivrei Tzadikim. People give extra tzedakah to poor people and increase in tachanunim in davening. And the point of this is to awaken the neshames of the tzaddikim that they should daven for us, b'yem hadin. Those that are close to the oil go to the Rebbe's oil on this Erev Rosh Hashana. Before, he just brings here the minhagim, before going to a Beis HaChaim, a cemetery, the minig is not to eat, going to Mekhem HaKadoshim, not to eat, but only to drink. The reason is because there is a prohibition that a person shouldn't fast. The concept of fasting and trying to get messages from those that have passed, so they don't eat nor drink. And because it's prohibited to do so, although we don't want to eat because of the concept of fasting, but we do want to drink something so that it shouldn't be a real fast. It shouldn't be similar to that which others do, which is prohibited. If someone did not see Kivrei Yisrael in past 30 days before he goes, there's a bracha that he says as he goes into the cemetery. In addition, one should not go into the cemetery with his tzitzis showing, that it shouldn't be leig l'rash, which is the concept of that those that have passed on do not have a requirement to fulfill mitzvahs. They're not able to do mitzvahs. They don't have a physical body. And by coming in and showing off your tzitzis, you're showing that I'm better than you, or I have this opportunity that you don't. So out of almost respect, we cover our tzitzis. They shouldn't be seen at all. He also brings here one more halacha in regards to this, that the person should not go to the same kever twice in the same day. And when he leaves the Beis HaKvares, he should wash Negelvasser, he should wash his hands. What is the Avodah of Erev Rosh Hashanah, the service of the day? So he brings it that the entire day a person should be involved in Torah and mitzvahs and fixing his inyanim, his things that are between man and his friend. Not to wait till Erev Yom Kippur to ask Mechila. If there's certain things that have to be amended, taken care of, he should do so before Rosh Hashanah. In addition, a person should say a lot of Tillim on this day and do real tshuva on anything that's negative that he's done in the prior year, in order that when it comes to Ma'ariv of Rosh Hashanah, the first tefillah of the year, he should be pure and clean in regards to his tshuva. It's a good thing to take upon oneself a special hidur, an additional step or beautification of a mitzvah or a stringency that he hasn't been doing till now, or some area that has to be improved in, to accept it upon himself every year before Rosh Hashanah, at least one thing. And something which the Rabbeim have done, it's brought in many Svarim, the concept of even writing it down, and then the following year to see if he actually kept to it. But the concept is to go into Rosh Hashanah with an additional hidur. For the honor of the Yontif, we wash up, we take haircuts at Rosh Hashanah in honor of Yontif, but we should be careful that the haircut should be before Chatzais Hayom, before midday. We go to the mikveh, we put on Shabbos clothing on Rosh Hashanah, and although it's a day of judgment as opposed to a celebratory day, but we are showing that we're confident, we have the bitachon in the kindness of Hashem that He's going to exonerate us in any type of judgment that's there. So in general, throughout Rosh Hashanah, we are treating it like a happy Yontif and expressing our real trust and emunah that it's going to be a good year. Erev Rosh Hashanah, a person should try to help poor people with the needs of Yontif. They should be able to celebrate Yontif properly, whether it's with literal needs or with money that they should be able to buy their stuff. It's important to go into Yontif helping others as well. Those that have the custom, the minhag of giving tzedakah every day, which is the right thing to do, on Erev Rosh Hashanah they should give for both days of Rosh Hashanah. So before the Yontif starts, you give extra for day 1 and day 2 of Rosh Hashanah. If it was a Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos, then you give for 3 days. Has here the halacha of Erev Tavshilin, which we don't have this year. Candle lighting. The candles of the first night of Rosh Hashanah are lit before the Shkia, even though technically you could light candles on Shabbos, on Yontif, but it's done before Yontif starts, like every Erev Rosh Hashanah, like every Erev Shabbos. And they make it, the bracha that they make is Lahadik Ner Shel Yom HaZikaron and Shechianu. If Rosh Hashanah is Erev Shabbos, like it is this year, so we say Lahadik Ner Shel Shabbos Vishal Yom HaZikaron, mentioning Shabbos in the first bracha, and then Shechianu. The second night of Rosh Hashanah, it's very important that we light the candle from an existing flame, and they also make the bracha of Shechianu. If possible, the women, the girls, should have some new clothing that they're wearing. They could say Shechianu for that, or have a Pri Chadash, which is a minhag to have a new fruit, and have in mind during the saying of Shechianu that the Shechianu is not just for the second day of Rosh Hashanah, but also for the new garment or the new fruit. However, if someone forgot that they don't have a new fruit, or they realize that they have eaten that already this year, or they don't have a new garment, you could still make the bracha Shechianu. It's a concept that because both days of Rosh Hashanah are considered to be one long day, so we have the question about Shechianu, so we have another reason to make Shechianu on. If we don't have it, you still make Shechianu. Back to Erev Rosh Hashanah. The mincha of Erev Rosh Hashanah, we daven mincha Erev Rosh Hashanah, the final tefillah of the year, with great kavanah. And one should be a little bit ma'arich, say it a little bit longer than usual, because that's the last tefillah, the last prayer of the year, as the year concludes. And it's the introduction to the next tefillah, which is the first tefillah ma'ariv of Yom HaGadol, of the great day of Rosh Hashanah. Before Mincha and Erev Rosh Hashanah, we say Keteres as usual, and if it's Erev Shabbos, like this year, we say Heidu Pasach Eliyahu, Yitid Nefesh, the way we do in every Erev Shabbos. Saying Tillim on Rosh Hashanah. Both days of Rosh Hashanah, actually beginning from some time before Ma'ariv, before Mincha, on Erev Rosh Hashana, all the way till Ma'ariv Mitzay Rosh Hashana, a person should say a lot of Tillin, by night and by day, with diligence. Because during these 2 days, we have to be very careful from speaking things that are unnecessary, mundane matters, to not sleep more than one needs, and to increase in davening and in tachanunim from the depths of his heart. And every free moment to say Tillin. This is something which is brought in Sefer HaMinhagim, and it's in letters from the Rabbeim, to really spend the days of Rosh Hashanah, every free moment, saying Tillin. Not to smoke on Rosh Hashanah. Those that, the custom is not to smoke on Rosh Hashanah, even not in public, and it's appropriate that B'nai Torah should be very careful about this, and they should also influence others that on the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, they should refrain from smoking. I'm going to stop here to be continued in Mitzvah Hashem.